Everybody awake? Everybody good? Warm? That was a no. There's not a lot of people. It is cold out there. This is our third time here. Pastor, thank you again. Y'all are awesome, and Crystal and I are honored for just being able to come back. But it's cold. This is the coldest year of the last 3 years that we've been here during this time. There's snow on the ground, and my feet are numb. Some of you, you got it. Well, it truly is an honor to be here. We are celebrating Veterans Day, and it's an important day. It is very important to continue to celebrate those who have given selflessly for our freedoms, right? A lot of the times, and I'll tell people that we go through our daily routine, just 9 to 5, whatever it may be, and we forget that there have been so many who have sacrificed so much just for us to live that normal daily routine. So it truly is important. Some of you have probably already heard my story before. For those of you who haven't, I'll give you the condensed, very quick version of it, not the 4-hour speech, but just the 3-hour speech. But ultimately, I did decide to serve and join the military myself. It was a day that a lot of us will forever remember, 9/11. 9/11 was a day that impacted me, impacted this nation quite a bit. I was sitting in my 8th grade language arts class, and my teacher brings in a TV on wheels and plugs it in, and normally we expect movie day. Well, this time it wasn't movie day. She turned on the news, and we see the Twin Towers fall. I was sitting there, my entire class in tears, and we were just confused 8th graders. What do you mean we're being attacked? This is the United States of America. I made myself a promise that day that I would join and fight and protect, and be a part of the best team on planet Earth protecting the United States from that ever happening again. Thank you. And before I continue, I want to actually do this real quick. I would like every single person who did serve, who signed that same dotted line that I did, to stand up so we can honor you as well. Thank you all so much for your service, your sacrifice, everything that you've given, and we're happy to have you here with us today. Very happy to have you here with us today. I signed that dotted line myself, not in 8th grade, because only the Marines accept 8th graders. Just kidding. My little brother's a Marine. He's in 7th grade. Anyways, so I signed up. I went to the recruiter's office shortly after I graduated high school, and I said, hey, what's the most dangerous job you can give me? And they were like, well, you can be a 12 Bravo combat engineer. You'd be making bombs, blowing stuff up. It'll be a blast. I was like, all right, that sounds pretty good. Let's do that. Little did I know what I was going to get myself into. So I signed that dotted line to be a combat engineer, and I deployed shortly after to Afghanistan. And my job over there was searching for IEDs, searching for the homemade explosives, the bombs that the enemy would make, and they would bury them in the roads and actually try to blow us up. Soldiers, even civilians, if they made them upset. My job was to find those before they did any damage, take care of them, take them out, or explode, blow them up ourselves so that they can no longer use the material. And that's what I did every single day. I would search for bombs in the road. It was going to be a dangerous job, but I needed to do it for myself because I wanted to be frontline, and I wanted to do it so that I could be a part of protecting my soldiers, my brothers and sisters in arms, and the civilians from their fate being ended, something happening to them. I wanted to stop that. So every single day, we'd go on mission. We'd be in a convoy of vehicles, and we would go out. Yeah, is that the clicker? Yeah, okay, I'll use it. You got nervous? You didn't know when to click? So it's a clicker right here. She's so cute. Every single day, we go out on mission and be searching for IEDs. And obviously, I'm not going to lie, I'm honestly the type of person that really likes roller coasters. So the first time I was blown up, it was awesome. My truck flies up into the air, slams back down, missing tires and pieces. Don't worry, USAA covered the insurance on it. But I enjoyed that moment so much. I was sitting in the driver's seat, and I'll never forget. I leaned over, and I was like telling my truck commander in the passenger seat, "Let's do that again." Which he replied, "No, let's not get blown up again." Obviously, he didn't really know what was going through my mind, but the most important thing was the fact that I didn't get hurt, he didn't get hurt, and neither did my battle buddy up in the turret. So I was just able to enjoy the moment, having a blast, because nobody got hurt. That happened a couple times while I was deployed to Afghanistan. Same thing, truck flies up in the air, slams back down, tires and pieces and things gone, but it didn't really matter because everybody was fine. Now, things were going to change, however, and I was going to become a different person very quickly because my best friend, Justin Ross, was shot and killed by a sniper while we were on mission March 26, 2011. That changed who I was completely. I became an angry person, filled with revenge, hate, every negative possible thing you could imagine, and it changed who I was. To the point where every mission after he was killed, I didn't really care about searching for IEDs. I had so much hate and revenge, I wanted to just hunt, and that's it. And a lot of us understand that soldiers will come home. They'll come home with that weighing them down. The frustration of what happened in war, the anger. We'll come home with that, and it's difficult. I knew for myself there was going to be one way I wouldn't come home with that. Any of the anger, any of the frustration. And sure enough, that one moment actually ends up happening. July 2nd, 2011, I was blown up my third and final time, changing my life once again, forever. I feel that God understood exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly who he didn't want to come home, back to the States. He knew he needed to do something to help change my heart, my mind, and wake me up. Allow me to realize that he is there with me, even in the darkest moments. For me, personally, I'm very stubborn. I'm a very stubborn person. Ask my wife. So God knew it was going to take a 200-pound bomb to wake me up, to change my thought process, to take the anger away and start my path on a new path leading back to him. So sure enough, July 2nd, I'm out on mission searching for IEDs, and my truck gets struck by a 200-pound bomb. That day I was sitting in this type of vehicle, an RG-31. I started the morning, however, up in the turret behind my 50 cal. Midway through the mission that day, my driver mics up and says, "Hey, Lane, do you mind switching spots with me so I can get some time on the gun?" And I was like, "Sure, dude. We're going home in about 30 days anyway, so you can go ahead and get up into the turret, and I'll take the driver's seat for the rest of the mission." So I get down, and we continue the mission, and I'm sitting there just excited that we're almost done for the day. ready to go back to the base. And we get on the most dangerous route, the last route for the afternoon. And as soon as my RG-31 gets on top of the IED that was planted in the ground, the guy with the detonator presses, turning my RG-31 into that. No more engine, no more tires. You can see the windshield on the right side is actually completely shattered. If you look closely, you can see that the shatter starts in the center of the windshield and spiderwebs out. That's because my skull shattered that windshield. That's 4 inches thick of bulletproof glass, and my head shattered it. My dad always said I had a hard head. Now I have proof. He was right, like always. This is one of my favorite pictures because it reminds me that God was there. When you think God is not with you in those dark moments, in those moments that you're feeling down about whatever may be going on, you may have gone through or be going through a tragedy or a struggle, when you think God's not there, I promise you, he is there. How do I know that for a fact? In the middle of being blown up by a 200-pound bomb and my truck being the first one to ever be penetrated, and the IED went through my truck, so they finally figured it out how to get through our vehicles. My body was completely destroyed in certain ways that needed to happen. Prime example, when I was blown up, both my legs were amputated. And I actually consider that a blessing in disguise. People are like, that's crazy. Why would you say that? Well, because God knew what he was doing, and he directed every single piece of shrapnel, which is flying pieces of metal, around to do exactly what they needed to, and it amputated my right foot, where my soldiers had told me that they found my right foot and boot melted to the floorboard of my truck. So think about that for 1 second. If I wasn't amputated, I would have been melted to the floorboard of my truck, and I would not be here with you today. God knew exactly what he was doing. On top of the 2 legs being amputated, my left femur snapped in half completely, my pelvis snapped in half completely, my spine dislocated from my pelvis, my right arm snapped in half, my right middle finger was amputated, but nobody needs that finger anyways. Should not be using that finger singularly. My 4 front teeth were knocked out when my face hit the steering wheel, and everything inside my torso was destroyed except for my heart and my left lung. So they cut me open, opened me up, and operated on me. 28 surgeries later, they were able to put me back together. During that time, I was in a coma for a month and a half. I died twice on the operating table. God was there as well. The doctors were preparing my family already, saying, hey, we just want to let you know what happened to his brain. It flattened to the size of a pancake, swelled up against his skull, and pressed against it, causing a traumatic brain injury within minutes when he was blown up. So if he ever does wake up from his coma, he'll most likely have brain damage. My dad was like, he's always had brain damage, so tell me something new. But God was healing me every minute that I was in the coma, every minute that I was in that hospital bed. And a month and a half later, when I woke up from my coma, everybody was shocked. They had no idea how I woke up because the first 2 weeks were medically induced, so they put me in a coma on purpose to operate on me. When they took me off of that, I was supposed to wake up, and I didn't for an entire month. So they had no idea what was going on. God woke me up from that coma, opened my eyes, and immediately gave me peace over the situation. A lot of people will pull the tubes out, start freaking out. I looked at what had happened, and I was just pulled the sheets off to see if I had my legs, and I realized they were gone. And I look at my dad, and I was like, well, this is different. The crazy thing about all of that is God already knew what was going to happen, didn't he? It's funny how if you catch yourself, you can actually hear the Holy Spirit speak. Did you know that? How do I know this to be a fact? While I was on vacation in the middle of my deployment, I went to Acapulco, Mexico for a week. Got to go there, and before going back to Afghanistan and finishing out my deployment, my dad's super stubborn. I wonder where I get it from. He's like, oh, that's crazy. I'm going to go there too for the week that you're there. I was like, okay. So he goes there. I hang out with him. And the last day he's there, I bring him to the airport. And my dad, having that gut feeling, is like, hey, I don't think you should go back. I have a bad feeling. And the only thing that I said, I'm pretty sure was not me. I'm pretty sure it was the Holy Spirit telling my dad everything's going to be okay. The only thing that I told my dad was, Dad, everything will be fine. Even if I lose my legs, I'll be okay. Even if I lose my legs, I'll be okay. Who says that? I would definitely not say that. I could probably see that. The Holy Spirit was already telling my dad, he's going to be fine. I got him. I get back to my deployment, and all of this happens. And now I'm in a coma, and I wake up. My dad's sitting by my side. And he wants to know exactly what has happened. Am I going to have brain damage? I can't talk at the moment, can barely move. And he writes on a sticky note, can you read this? 4 simple words. And with my family in the room, the doctors in the room, he shows me the sticky note, and all I could do was nod my head yes. Everybody started crying. They knew in that moment that since I was able to read those 4 simple words, that I wasn't going to have brain damage. But more importantly, that I would be smarter than all my siblings. Just kidding. Fast forward, I go through therapy, and I'm using prosthetics, having to do this whole process. But the miracle in that is the fact that the doctors, being super positive people, told me I would never walk again. They said, the burns that you sustained on your legs, we apologize, you're never going to deal or be able to handle prosthetics, so just get used to your wheelchair. Well, they had no idea, once again, that I had God giving me strength through this whole process, reminding me that He is there and that I can get through it and I can overcome with Him by my side. And so, yeah, you can applaud that. So what did I do? I took Jesus with me, and I went straight to my therapist, and I said, hey, they said I couldn't walk again. Put me in prosthetics, please. He's like, all right. So they do one at a time. They went in my right leg. The burn sites shred apart on my first few steps. Started to bleed out inside my prosthetic. Now showing me that the devil is interfering. Do you ever feel like the devil's kind of messing with you? You ever feel like you're trying to do God's will, you're trying to get yourself better, you're trying to move forward in this life and do what you know God's purpose is for you, but the devil will keep trying to stomp on us, trying to break us? I'll promise you this, the devil works overtime. So it sounds like we need to work a little harder and keep that fight going and keep relying on Christ, giving us strength. And I am so grateful that I did, because that's exactly what I kept focused on. I was like, this is not going to stop me. Yeah, my burn site shred apart and I was bleeding. Whoop-de-doo. God is my healer. So 2 weeks later, He healed me. I'm back in the prosthetics. They're like, wait, what? You're already back? What's going on? And then shortly after, the left femur that snapped in half, The doctor said, oh, by the way, it's fully healed. You're good to go and get into a prosthetic and be on 2 feet for the first time in forever. I'm all pumped up. Yes, sweet. You're going to walk again. And then the devil's like, oh, let's see if I could break him this time. As soon as I took 2 steps in my left prosthetic, my femur snaps in half inside my socket. Again, he's trying to clearly mess with me and stop me because I know God has a purpose for my life, just like he has a purpose for your life. Every single time you feel like you're being messed with, just know that means God has something big for you to be doing in this life, and the devil does not like it. He does not like it when we're doing phenomenal work for God's kingdom, being the best soldiers in God's army that we possibly can. The devil hates it. So he will try to do anything and everything to break us, to tear us down. But God, he's the ultimate healer. No matter what we're going through, no matter what we're struggling with, we continue to pray, he will continue to be there for us and heal us. That femur, they thought it was healed after months and months and months. It was not. The doctors were wrong. It snapped in half, and I had to go back to do another surgery and put a metal plate on my femur, put me back together again. But God gave me the strength not to give up in those moments that pain was continuing over and over and over and over again. I got in both my prosthetics. I started walking, and I went to my therapist. I'm like, look, be honest with me. How long am I going to be in therapy? Because this is seeming like a forever, never-ending situation. He said, well, you're a double amputee, so you're going to be in therapy for 2 years. No. I don't want to be in therapy for 2 years with you. God has a purpose for my life, and I want to go live it. He laughed in my face and said, no, just like every double amputee before you, you'll be in therapy for 2 years. Well, God said otherwise, because to this day, I still hold the record as the fastest double amputee in and out of therapy in only 6 months. We try to do things on our own way too much, when we should take a step back and let God take control. I don't know any of the other lyrics of the song, but Jesus Take the Wheel, that's the only lyric I know. But it makes sense. I'm just saying. It's important that we try to remind ourselves not to try and do this on our own. There are certain things that God asks us to do. We are soldiers in his army, correct? After everything that I had gone through, I'm on my way out of the United States Army. They're finishing my paperwork, and they tell me that they will be honorarily discharging me and retiring me. Retirement, what? That word sounds nice. Retirement. I'm 23 years old. Cool. And then I realized something. Have you guys ever seen the word retirement in the Bible? That word's not in there. I know. I probably just broke your hearts for a second. But God calls us to be soldiers in his army for life until he brings us home. There's a lot of work to do on this earth. As you can see, I don't have to give you any examples, but all you got to do is turn on the TV and you know we have a lot of work to do. A lot. How do we make sure that we're good to go? We're ready for the spiritual warfare that's going on right now? We have to build ourselves up. We have to build that armor. Ephesians 6:13 through 18 talks about the armor of God. How do we keep that armor strong? Well, one of those is by just getting in the Word. I love telling people my favorite thing that I have ever heard in my entire life is, what does Bible stand for? basic instructions before leaving Earth. Think about that for 1 second. Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth. So it's probably a book we should be reading, right? On a regular basis. To be making sure that not only are we educated on what God wants us to do and calls us to do, but also gives us the ability to dive in closer to our relationship with Christ, make sure everything's good to go. On top of that, praying. Pastor said it. It's important to pray. My favorite story about how prayer is so powerful is the fact that when I woke up from my coma and I was finally able to talk, I prayed one prayer on purpose. Why? Because so many people around me told me, because of what I went through, because of what I dealt with, I will struggle for the rest of my life with this thing called PTSD. You all know what it means, what it stands for. That's what they told me. They were already like, sorry, you've been to a war zone and you've been through a lot. You're going to struggle for the rest of your life with PTSD. The first thing that I prayed for, I said, God, ain't nobody got time for PTSD. I don't want it. Nobody should have it. Please take everything that would haunt me away. He turned PTSD, the worldly version, into my favorite version, which is post-traumatic successful domination. Prayer works. And just in case you didn't know that it does, I prayed for my future wife after all of this. I heard a pastor say, pray specifics, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll try that. Specifics are important. I prayed to meet my future wife at the gym so I don't have to force her to work out with me. I want her to have curly hair because I kind of dig that. And I want her to have a relationship with the Lord as well, so we'll be equally yoked. Crystal showed up at our gym that week. Tell me prayer doesn't work. Then what was that? How did I get the prayer answered? God is listening, and he wants us to have a conversation with him. Pray. Continue to stay in worship. Worship is very important as well. Music is one of my favorite things that I enjoy doing myself. Continue to stay in worship. But continue to not let those negative thoughts, those negative words bring you down or change who you are. When someone's bad, negative, mean towards you, whatever, show them love. Show them love. There's too much negative in this world to be copying what they do just because we find ourselves emotional for a half a second. We are the light of the world. We are soldiers in God's army, and we need to act like it. Legs or no legs. Doesn't matter. God calls each and every one of us to serve in his army. I call them the special forces because it's the specialist group ever. But I'm grateful to be alive because of everything God has showed me, what I need to do, how I need to conquer the negativity in my mind. Prayer. I'm extremely grateful. I want to challenge each and every one of you to continue to build your armor. Continue to get into the Word. FYI, my favorite book is Proverbs. It's awesome. Continue to read, continue to pray, continue to show love. It is very important for everything we're going through on this planet right now.